administrator. Administrators, actually, what is the thing is that we teacher, we can all the time advise the students, do this, not do this, and all these things. But as long as there is no policy, no rules, then students will not follow. So who will provide the policies? Who will provide the rules? Here the administrators come forward. Okay. So as long as the administrators implement some policies ensuring ethical AI deployment in institutes, everything will go fine. But if there is no policies, as far as I know, in Bangladesh, I'm afraid no policies have developed so far in these ethical AI issues. So therefore, students are doing the assignments, plagiarism, and all these things. And finally, developers and policymakers, they are the stakeholders. And the developers and the policymakers can collaboratively create these ethical AI frameworks, and they can provide these frameworks to the institutions so that the students and all the other stakeholders can follow. Now, the question is, what risk actually students are facing while they are searching something in these generative tools, I mean, in ChatGPT or Copilot, all these things is actually, first thing is their privacy and data. The thing is that students are still in learning period. They don't know, I mean, few students are aware, but most of the students, they don't know while asking some questions, what information they are actually giving or how these tools are keeping those informations or how they are actually using those informations later on. So this, as there is no awareness developed on this field, so sometimes students are providing too much informations, and as there is no policies or rules, so this can lead to a catastrophic situation. Okay, so therefore, there should be some compliance with privacy laws, where it will be written and strictly follows what information should be taken from a student, how those sensitive, if there is a sensitive information, how this sensitive information can be used, how long and a platform can keep that information, and when that information should be deleted. So there should be some guidance, some written rules, and whenever a student will provide some information or some information will be asked from him or her, these things should be first reminded him, what information he is giving and how long they will keep that information and where they will use that information, which is very important. So therefore, another thing is biased data. As I was saying, that sometimes these AI tools are generating some wrong information or unfair, unbalanced, or very limited information. So that is actually biased generative AI can create several negative outcomes from students.
সকালে আমি বানাইছিলাম হ্যাঁ ওই ইয়ে তো না পেপার ছিল না
Okay, Arif bhai, we can hear you. Okay, so therefore, whenever the students are actually receiving wrong information, they are not checking whether this information is wrong or right, and they are actually learning something that is wrong, and they are using that information for research purpose and or in assignment, or sometimes they are also convey that information to other information. So wrong informations are actually spreading. That is one thing. Therefore, we should ensure the fairness in AI. Therefore, the AI will always, the fairness of AI means that AI is generating right information, and it's a training data set isn't diverse. Okay, therefore, we should implement strategies like diverse data and bias detection tools to ensure AI system to avoid producing wrong information. So now the question is, how we can actually safeguard this? I mean, how we can safeguarding against misinformation.
Is going to feed you what? Mom is going to feed you biryani? Okay, I'm lunch one and it's fine.
Easy peasy.
Arif, we can hear you.
Arif bhai. Okay, so
Go ahead, Reed.
first thing is monitoring and accountability mechanism.
Sorry, I missed
There is
the dual
certain
device.
procedure that should be followed to monitor and accountability purpose. One is the human in the loop review. That is, whenever the AI is producing some output, we should supervise all those output. Okay. So therefore, teachers, experts, or moderators should check AI outputs on a regular basis. And if there is a wrong information that the system is generated, it should be correct so that the AI would not act on its own. Second is the bias detection tools, which is very important. We should use some special tools to find unfair patterns such as gender, race, or language bias. Okay. So, and before testing any tools, which actually which is done, that is first we should test what we are releasing, how perfect the answer is or how accurate the answer is. But that is not the end. We should do the auditing, and we should also train the system on regular basis with diverse data set. Third is the data transparency, which is very important. The AI developer should explain what data it was trained on in general terms, and how the model is actually working, and what are the known limitations that can happen. This will actually help the user to trust on the system. And because if you explain the users everything, then the user will accept that some error may happen with the machine. Because I can share with you an experience that when traveling from Jahangirnagar to my residence in bus, one day I was listening is that ChatGPT lies. So I just asked, some teachers were actually in conversation. I was not hearing that properly, but whenever I heard the term ChatGPT lies, I just raised this question, how? So answer was yes. We asked them lots of answers and questions, and sometimes they are providing some references that it actually never exists. So it lies. So I was telling machine cannot lie. The training data set might be biased. There must be some problem in the training data set. Machine cannot lie. But they were not believing on that. They were saying that ChatGPT lies. So, when there is a problem in the training data set, no one in the non-technical people, they do not know about the training data set or how the system is being trained. So what they feel is like the system is a liar. So if you explain the naive users how the system is working, so they will accept some errors, but even then they will trust on you. Yeah. Fourth is ethical guidelines. Ethical guidelines is that there should be some clear rules for the AI systems, such as no hate speech will be provided, no misinformation should be provided, no harmful instruction should be provided. And developers should follow these ethical guidelines to keep the AI safe. Then reporting and feedback system, which is very important. The students and teachers who are using these systems, there should be some mechanism so that they can report some wrong information or biased answer. They can give the feedback or they can suggest the improvement so that AI system can learn and improve. And again, I was giving emphasis on regular audits, because independent groups should check the system regularly. So do the accuracy test, fairness test, safety test, so that if there are some biasing happening, it should stop immediately. So next part is reporting and addressing the ethical breaches. What will happen and how we will deal with that. So as I have said, that there should be some clear process to identify, report, and the fix situation where the AI system becomes wrong. That means that it behaves in a way that is unethical, unfair, harmful, against the rules and values. So the procedure that can be followed is like there should be some clear reporting channel, as I have said before, that there should be some reporting button in the app, or some way that the user, whenever they find that the answer is wrong or it's not giving proper answer, they can report it. email it in a support system. They can provide some feedback from whatever they can, but there should be some reporting mechanism. And at the same time, the second thing is ethical review team, because whenever reporting is done, the teacher or student can report something. But before taking action, there should be a proper team who will first check whether the reporting is right or wrong. First the thing, okay. So for that, technical and ethical specialists should be there. And so they should reread each and every report and decide if it is an ethical breach or not. And if it is, they should start investigating. So when this will start investigating, the team will check what output actually the AI is providing. They will check the logs and the training data set and the context, and so that they will understand from where the breach started happening. And they should, the next thing is the immediate action. That is, if the problem is serious, then they should disable the features temporarily and update the AI models and remove the harmful content, because the safety is our first concern. And for the long-term purpose, one thing that can be done is that retrain the model, improve the data set, adding the filters and updating the rules. And another thing I said before, the transparency is very important, because whatever they're doing, they should provide some answers to the users. I mean, they should inform the users what went wrong, what action was already taken, and how they are going to fix it, so that it will rebuild the trust from the user. So these are the things that should be done to handle the breaches or wrong, misleading information. So next is the adapting guidelines to diverse educational context. That is, the thing is, every institute, because we are talking about the policies, we are talking about the ethical issues. So it varies from institution to institution, from nation to nation. Therefore, we should, while imposing the policies or strict rules, we should understand the distinct characteristics of each institution or regional characteristics or country-wise characteristics. For example, in Bangladesh, we have some sensitivity on some particular words. So when we will enforce some rules or policies, we should be very careful on those words. That word should not appear in any searching things or anywhere that will actually create hatred, or it will create chaos. So region to region, these things actually varies. Therefore, we should tailoring the guidelines. That means customize the educational guidelines based on their requirement. And for that purpose, what could be done, we should include the participants, the stakeholders, and the developer as well. And all of them can together make a policy. It's not like the developer or the development team provide some policies and the users, we are bound to use those policies or follow those policies, because the developer should understand what is actually happening in which region or in which institutes, or what is their requirement. So general policies will not be that much good in this case, and in this case we should use individual institutional policies, and that can come from the direct stakeholders, I mean students, educators, or the administrator. Therefore, the last thing is that, as we know that AI technology evolves quickly and it also creates new challenges and opportunities in every day. Therefore, we should regularly update whatever the policies we are providing to keep pace with the emerging AI technologies and challenges. And also, we should incorporate the best practices that will ensure AI guidelines that will remain effective and relevant over the time. So that's all. Thank you. And if you have any question, you may ask.
Thank you, Professor Risala, for your excellent presentation. My question is, for different reason, actually, a AI model can give wrong answer on unethical things it can do for its biasness. So the committee who will actually check the unethical things. So what will be the guideline? Who will prepare the guidelines? This is the most important, because the committee without any definite guideline or perfect guideline, how can they will actually evaluate whether this system violates the ethical standard? Because a system developed by, I think, Amazon or like this, it's 6 application for a certain post. But after evaluation, it was found that some Asians are particularly eliminated or they did not apply. So later on, they discovered they applied there and they did not get call. And finally, they found it. This is the biasness of the system. And later on, actually, they faced a lot of criticism and they revised it. So in this case, so who will create the guidelines and how it can be more effective? Obviously, it needs some committee or
Yes, sir.
like this. So I would like to know.
So here I have already stated that the guidelines should be created in including the participants. I mean, also the students should participate here, and actually more appropriately to say the educators and the administrators should come forward, because students comes and go. So it's not like that they can, yes, we can take some feedback from the students, but educators and
I think it should be an institutional guideline.
say that it should be customized from institute to institute with general guidelines. You can never actually help here. I said that.
Thank you. And it depends, varies country to country.
Country to country is region to region. Okay, so customized guidelines should be provided, not a general guideline. And the guideline, while developing the guideline, the institutional stakeholders should be involved. That is the thing. Thank you, sir. Yes.
So thank you, ma'am. First of all, to define what is actually unethical in generative AI, we should actually define which is ethical in generative AI. Because of we talk about the student's purpose perspective, that for one example, that if you give an assignment to a student and then student uses generative AI to complete this assignment, and we say that unethical. The first question is that why we have to say this is unethical? Because we have to go back to our education. That's an education system. What is the purpose of this education? If you are giving some problem that you can solve easily, it should not be an assignment. The assignment should be innovative. If it is not innovative, you are giving some exercise to solve as an assignment, and it can the student can actually solve by himself or using help from any other way, or using generative AI. That's not actually unethical in here. We should actually go back to our policy of our education. What is the purpose of this education? Do we use exactly or not? That is actually the main thing in here. That's when why we're saying unethical everything. That's when copying is unethical, but we are giving something that is not innovating. Like that, you are giving something. That's the purpose of this exam. What is the purpose of this exam? To check that the student is actually build up their knowledge or not. But that's not what we are doing in reality. The reality is that we are giving some questions, student just memorizing and just vomiting in this exam script. That's what we are doing. We are not giving anything here. So if it is not innovative, then to say this is unethical. We should actually go back to the purpose of this education. We have to change our policy of the education so that we can use generative AI as a tool, as actually helping hand, and we can empower ourselves. We should not actually restrict to use generative AI in here. We have to change our policy. What we are doing in our educational institution, we are actually the other things. We are not building the knowledge in there, not innovative way. We are actually giving them some knowledge so that they can memorize it. They can actually without this purpose and without this application. So we have to define which is ethical, and then we have to talk about the unethical. This is my personal opinion. Thank you.
Okay. So right at this moment, what I think, I don't know whether you will agree or not, sometimes memorization is good than copying. Because when you are copying, you are not even memorizing. Okay. So you actually don't know what answer the generative AI is giving, is right or wrong. I am not talking about the correct answer or wrong answer. I was telling that whatever the assignment topics, they will never going to find whether the answer is right or wrong. They are just using word by word the topics of the assignment or the question, and whatever the answer they are getting, they are just copying and pasting. That's the thing. That is unethical. Okay.
I would like to augment him. He is right in one sense, and in another sense, I may disagree. We are actually hosting a conference. This is 6th IEEE conference on telecommunication and photonics. We actually received submission, and we found that 98% similarity. Similarity 50% and 98% AI generated. So where is the innovation? Where is the creativity? Where is the novelty? So these are the things, okay? So nowadays the generative model actually designed such a manner. What kind of, it's actually the undergraduate course, what kind of assignment you put, you just give it to, it immediately give you a solution. So we are not discouraging to use the actually AI, but what we may need, you are right. We have to change the education system or teaching learning process. Suppose in one class, 3-hour class or 2-hour class, you will give assignment and ask the student, you do it here. Whatever they do, this is their real contribution. Otherwise, if you allow them laptop, internet, everything, you ask them, okay, next class, we will solve this and I will assign you some problem. You will solve in the class. So that time you actually know the real students.
Exactly.
So mood of delivery, mood of assessment need to be changed. If you just put the assignment very hard, no problem. There are a lot of very narrow domain AI which can solve that particular problem very nicely, step by step. So we have to change the methodology of teaching learning process. I think this is my opinion also. Thank you.
But I think there is another audience who wants to speak. Sir. Sir, আপনার কাছে মাইকটা
Thank you very much. The question is very important. Thank you for raising the issue. First of all, we need to first define what is ethical in this 2025. Consider two situation. আমি বাংলায় বলছি, সরি অন্যভাবে নেবেন না। একজন লোক বাদাম বিক্রি করে, তার ক্যাপিটাল হচ্ছে 500 টাকা। সে সারাদিন সে বাদাম বিক্রি করে, সে 140 টাকা কেজি কাঁচা বাদাম কিনে সারাদিন ঘুরে ঘুরে সে বাদাম বিক্রি করে বসুন্ধরায় ধরে নেন বা উত্তরায়, এবং সে 140 টাকা কেজি বাদাম 300 টাকা দরে বিক্রি করে। সো 140 টাকা কিনে 300 টাকায় বিক্রি করছে। তার সারাদিনে ইনকাম হচ্ছে ধরে নেন 1000 টাকা, কারণ তার ক্যাপিটাল কম কিন্তু সে লাভ করছে বেশি রেশিওতে। আরেকজন ডলার ব্যবসায়ী, সে 5 কোটি টাকা ইনভেস্ট করে, পার ডলারে তারা 50 পয়সা লাভ হলে চলে। And now সে ব্যবসা করতেছে বাজারে, and একইভাবে ডলারের ব্যবসা করছে, এবং সে 50 পয়সা ডিগ্রি ধরে হয়তো 10 মিনিট পরে ডলারটা বিক্রি করে দিচ্ছে। Now you tell me who is unethical, who is ethical? Clear? So the question is now, we have to define first what is ethical and what is unethical. But what I agree with you, people, that we need to redefine our education system first. And this is the challenge of AI today. One of the big challenge of AI is that we have to run parallel of it. If you think AI is your enemy, you will never cope up with the modern science. But you have to go parallel of it, and in the same time, to be a friend of AI, I have to get such ability so that we can cope our hand together and then we can run. Let's run. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So, anyone else? So I think I can conclude my session here, and I would like to request the next presenter to come for here. Thank you.
David, would you mind to make any comment here or?
Yes, yes, you are most welcome.
David, Arif, sorry. I just thought my reflections are, Marie, that was brilliant. So I've seen some great presentations this morning from Marie, really informative, and from Arif as well. So it's the amount of sharing of knowledge and practice and experience has been superb today. So thank you for that. I'm learning a lot myself.
Thank you,
And
David.
it's great to capture all of this so that we can look at the transcripts and then analyze the feedback and themes. So that's great.
I would like to make some comment on, yeah, excellent presentation, Ria. You brought some real critical issue that I was expecting it gonna be happening in Bangladesh as well. And my assumption is very much aligned with the scenario we can see. Like the ethicality is a prime concern, like what we are allowed to do and what we not to do. And that's why, I mean, if you can recall in the morning session, I have at the very end, we said some traffic light system like do, don'ts, and absolutely no. All right. So something we are allowed to do. All right. Those were the green lights. Something in between, in the middle, we can be a little bit in both way. Like yeah, some part may go toward the do, or some part could be toward the don't, and don't are the absolutely not allowed. Now, how we created that, that's the main concern. Now, basically, this traffic light system came with the discussion of the multiple level of stakeholders. Now, who are the stakeholders here? In academia, we can see we are the teachers, we have researchers, we have collaborative other people, we have administrative personnel, we have other, I mean, a range of people who are associated in the academia. And we can see in the tertiary education and the TVET, we have other stakeholders as well. On top of that, when we are bringing the accessibility issue, it gonna be even more wider. So we have to think about from a bigger context and bring all the stakeholders together so that we can mutually go to a state what could be the do's or the green lights, and what could be in the amber situation, and what could be the red. Yes, the new challenge is here. And here we are, all with this talented mind, I can see over the camera, who can be really supportive to give us the input to, give and allow us to move forward with the generative AI context in Bangladesh and bring this generative AI in accessibility as well. Yeah, thank you very much for your so far inputs, and it was excellent so far. Thank you.
Mufti, welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, Mufti.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Regarding the use of GenAI, yeah, and within the context of education or otherwise, one of the main discussion points that we had last month, actually, I was running a conference called Web Intelligence and Intelligent Agent Technologies in London from 15th to 18th of November. And from the keynote speakers that we had, several of them were very prominent speakers, I mean, very prominent academicians who have been contributing in the field of data retrieval, actually, information retrieval. Now, within the context of information retrieval, one of the things, actually, that they were repeatedly pointing out, because right now, generative AI and large models, not only large language models, large vision models, multimodal large models, so everything have been, I mean, drastically used within the context of education or otherwise. I have just returned from NeurIPS, and well, I can really say that 90% of the presentations that I saw at NeurIPS and all the posters that I saw there, somehow they are connected to the large models. Now the question is that, well, all these large models, because they require large amount of data to be trained, one of the main questions actually that came in the discussions with all the different experts that I had the opportunity to meet and discuss this subject matter with is that gradually we are actually moving from real data to artificial data. Of course, I'm not saying that synthetic data, which are absolutely, verified and valid, are bad. I'm in favor of having synthetic data. However, when, let's say that specifically all these different information which are generated through these large models, let them be text, images, videos, whatever it is, the difficulty is that, well, we do not have means yet to verify this information. And that is one of the biggest challenges that, well, when these data are getting generated, over the times, these data are becoming the training data for the next, let's say, next version of the model. Now, what is happening is that we are training our models on data that are unverifiable. And this is something which actually poses a real concern. Just to give you an example, and this was something which is very systematically demonstrated in one of the keynotes by Professor Gorg Gottlob from University of Oxford during that conference. He actually gave an example. And it is a very simple example that also actually mentioned a particular context in a particular context in our presentation, that the generative AI models are still generating references which are inaccurate, which are inexistent. Absolutely true. And what happens is that, for example, actually, Professor Gottlob showed it in a systematic way that he had a presentation done for a different organization. And in that presentation, he systematically had shown that which are the references, sorry, that were inaccurate, that were incorrect, that was completely wrong, inexistent. But then that particular organization had shared that presentation on the open space, which means that, well, they had uploaded that presentation in the web. And when actually the next edition of a particular large language model came into existence, particularly, well, he actually pointed out it was perplexity. And what Perplexity did was, like, Perplexity was referring to that particular material, that particular document which was uploaded to the web, as a reference material. Though that particular, in that presentation, it was meant for identifying the wrong references, that these are wrong reference that were created by large language models. However, in the next edition of the model, it was then referring to that particular document or presentation which was uploaded. They became legitimate references when, the large language model generated outputs, which means that this new version of the model, because we are now scrapping data from the web, whatever it is there, and training those models, because these large models require large amount of data, often unverifiable and wrong information are being fed into training these models. And this is one of the largest challenges, which means that, of course, often we are probably, I'm not saying that large models are bad. No, they are having a lot of good aspects. But from the developer's perspective, we need to be really careful on which are the data that we are training the models on. And we need to be really careful that what are the specific aspects that these models can provide, let's say, accurate results or not. And this is something which should be actually brought onto the table when we are thinking or talking about what is ethical, what is unethical, what are the policies that are needed within the educational context. And well, previously, that we used to believe that, of course, large language models, their ability to break down different concepts, making things more accessible, bringing things up to the level of someone's understandability, that is fantastic. Now, even in those cases, given that the amount of, let's say, unverifiable data is increasing, we really need to be careful that whether the information that are being provided by these large models are actually accurate or not. So this is something which really is something that needs to be taken into consideration when we are discussing or we are talking about policies within the education or otherwise in using any of these specific tools. So there was just some of the experience that I had over the last couple of months. And I thought that within this particular context, this is going to be very useful or a discussion point in terms of making the policies or making the use of generative AI-based tools within the context of education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mufti. I think there is a comment, so please.
So, Assalamualaikum, sir. This is Babu. Thank you, sir, for your nice comment. So, one concern in here that we are blaming generative AI for hallucination and wrong answer. But we have to think one thing, that they are trained on the data from the websites. All of the websites is existing in here. But we have to check that all the websites contain correct data. That's the main thing. If you are training generative models with the wrong or false information, that will give you the false information. That's the first thing, because we are not actually refining all this data. It's not even possible to refine all this data from the website. This is one thing. Secondly, hallucination happens in GPT-2 or related to GPT-3 mostly, not GPT-5 actually, and even not Grok4. They are not hallucinating right now. It's very improved. So we should not actually blame generative AI. There is no hallucination right now. It's very little, and it's depend on some specific contents and even domains. One thing is that because of the embedding was not actually based on semantic. It was actually not semantic embedding. That is the reason that when you give a prompt or ask a question, they cannot actually capture the meaning of the context. So we know that back in the days they are using actually word embedding. That's why we said that word embedding. Now we have sentence embedding, and now we are doing even context embedding. So it's actually capturing the meaning and the context of the given prompt. So hallucination is actually very less in here. So we need to actually check that we are using the data in our training process. If it's not actually correct and not actually refined, then the false information actually will actually get. And this is actually not the problem of the generative AI. This is the problem of the data set. That's actually my comment. Thank you, sir.
Yes, absolutely. I can completely relate to that because reflecting on my experience, let's say that last year in 2024 February, when I was attending the AAAI conference, one of the main, let's say, concerns of AI models or large models actually was hallucination. So out of the 10 keynote speakers which were there, 6 of them were on large language models, and actually they were concerned about hallucination, including Yan-Lei Kun. Now, this year's new RIPS that I just returned from, hallucination is not a discussion at all. So no one is talking about hallucination because, there are many different ways that hallucination have potentially been addressed. Now, one of the main discussion point is actually how do you train these models on verifiable data? Because your models are not hallucinating, but your models are providing information which are inherently incorrect because you have trained your model on incorrect data. Now, this is one of the challenges that we really need to delve into and try to find potential solutions that, well, how can these data that we are actually let's say training our models on, whether they are trustworthy or not, whether they are verifiable or accurate information or not. So this is something which is actually becoming a real big concern right now. I mean, there are many different techniques which have been developed to mitigate hallucination. But well, if we have issues with the training data, the model would inherently provide incorrect information. And that is something which needs to be taken into consideration when we are actually making policies of, let's say, using these models into different contexts. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mufti. Now, I would like to request Saif to give his presentation. Dr. Saif, yeah.
Thank you, sir. So welcome everyone. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Saif. I'm an associate professor at AIUB, the Department of Computer Science, and additionally, I'm an additional director of IQAC. So I would like to discuss about the practical implementation of the guidelines, right? So my task is already been easy because I think and I believe you already have a good idea of the generative AI and its uses in academic and other perspective, right? And we had some wonderful discussion, right, with Dr. Risala ma'am and Dr. Saiful Islam sir, Dr. Mufti sir, Dr. Arif sir. They have a good discussion, right? What is ethical or what is not ethical or what should we keep in our policy, right? So this is the time we are getting our hands dirty. You can remember we told you in the email that please bring your laptop. So now we are going to require that laptop, okay? And we are going through some hands-on things. So whatever you think, like what should be the policy, what should be adapted, what should be discarded. So this thing, now we can actually, we are sitting together. So we'll discuss among ourselves and we give our input, like whether it should be kept or not, or what should be the policy. So let me just share my screen. Then we have a fixed good set of instructions. So we will just follow and go through the rest of the presentation. So let me share my screen. So if you have a phone or laptop, you can type this address or scan this QR code. You will get the resources, what we are going to use in this session. Okay. So if you scan this scan this QR or go to this website, you will get some files. I think there are 6 files. So if I can show you. So you will find this sort of page. So where we have 6 files. So one is the UNESCO guidelines on the generative AI uses in academia and other things. And one is the draft policy for educators. So this is actually generated by me, consulting all the materials which is available on the Accessible Academy. So in the morning, you have registered yourself in that course platform, and you can go through the staff's generative AI for staffs and generative AI for students. There are some guidelines, and this policy guidelines is a draft policy guideline which I have curated from by concerning all these documents and all the resources available on the website. Mostly I have followed the UNESCO guidelines, and then I have used the Accessible Academy platform to summarize or to just to prepare a draft one in the context of Bangladesh. So our target is to brainstorm regarding the uses of the AI or the generative AI in context of Bangladesh, because Bangladesh, the system or the spatial geography is different from other countries. So what may be applicable for other countries, it may not be applicable for us. So this is the high time, and it is a golden opportunity that it is a very rare phenomenon that we can gather this sort of people in a single room, right? So this is high time we actually use your ideas and so that we can actually go through a draft policy so that we can later extend or work with this one. So you can see then this is the guideline. So you can download this one. And there is another draft that is policy for students. And this is a shared document for the workshop. And this is the reflection from the previous workshop, which has been held on the Zoom. So there we got some input from you, like what should be done or what should not be done. So that draft is also available here. So you can also go through this one. So when you can access all these documents, you can go through this doc file. And in this doc file, if you can follow, so we have page 1, page 2, page 3. So there are 7 pages. You can think of this as 7 tables. So you just select one page, insert your name and your affiliation. Then you can write your findings here. So which policy you want to add, or which new thing you want to add, or which you want to delete. So you can use this file. So this is a collaborative file. From here, we will be updated from your thoughts, like which you are going to accept or which you are voting for denying, right? So this is a hands-on thing. So from the very morning, we have gone through all the theories, all the fundamental knowledge on the generative AI and why we should use it in academia or why shouldn't we. And this is the final thing we are going to do is getting our things in a single file so that after going through this, we can actually come up to a point where we can agree or disagree to keep things or not. So I think it is clear, right? The instruction is clear what we are going to do, right? Are you okay? Fine. So, and if you don't want to go through the documents, you can just go through the slide. The slide is a summary of the documents. So in the slide, I have summarized all the things. So let's get back to the slide. For example, so what should be the scope of this policy? So if we want to develop a policy for generative AI in Bangladesh, to in context to the Bangladesh, so what is its scope? So this scope should include our higher education institute and the TVET institutes and our governing bodies like UGC and other things. So we should actually think and we should keep their entity in our mind, right, sir? Because you already said that AI policy can be different for different institute, right? That is a thing. It can be arguable because what is ethical to one university, it may be unethical for another university. Like I'm working here today and I can switch to another institute. So what I was in the ethical ring, the other university can say this is not ethical or we do not follow it here. So this is why you actually keep any governing entity in this loop so that it can be unified to some extent. And there is a variety. Obviously, the spatial thing, the geographic thing actually allow us for different variable things. But I think there should be some common things. So in common points, so we can actually come to an agreement that whether it is, we should actually follow these sort of things to this manner. So this is our scope. So while you are working on the policy, please go through or keep the scope in your mind. Then you can also keep in your mind the core principles. So these core principles are actually defined in the UNESCO guidelines, which have been provided by the UNESCO guidelines. So you can also find this document in the resources page, which I have shared. So in the UNESCO guideline, they have actually identified 3 core principles. The first one is human-centered use of AI. So the AI user should be human-centered. The inclusion, equality, and linguistic or cultural diversity, and another one is protection of human agency and academic integrity. So this thing already been clearly discussed by Dr. Risala. So I think you have a good concept of this, but now we just need to do some policy making stuff in context of Bangladesh. So today we are going to actually do 2 things. One is curriculum alignment for the Bangladeshi context. So the AI uses should be aligned with our curriculum. And we already know our curriculum is already assigned or already aligned to Bangladeshi standard, right? Using the BNQF framework. So we already have this one, and that is UGC. So they have some mandated things. So now it's time to get some generative AI guidelines proposing or just as we are everyday facing different form of generative AI users, right? As a teacher, from the students, or while you are working with co-workers, or researchers, or your colleagues. So we are actually facing different sort of generative AI users. So keeping in those things in mind, we can actually go for a good policy today. Though it is a very short time, this 30 minutes, 40 minutes is not actually an ideal time to set some policy, but we actually can start work. Then we can extend and going through these things. So if we want to design generative AI uses policy in context with Bangladesh, so these are the things I have identified, like we have to link all the generative AI users to our national policy and SDG 4. And then we have to think about the sector relevant integration, like TVET and higher education. TVET operates in one way, higher education institute operates in other way, schools and colleges operates in other way. So we have to also keep it in our mind. And as we are working with the higher education institute, tertiary level institute, so currently we can focus on the HE and the TVETs. And the another one is we have to think about the local language and culture while making the policy. And when we actually designing the policy, we also need to keep in mind that what should be the outcomes of the generative AI. So what I found through my research, so these 5 things can be initially be on our mind, like conceptual understanding, then ethical and legal literacy, then responsible use skills, the academic integrity and self-regulation, and finally the social and labor market awareness. So I'm not going through the deep into these things, but I think you already have a good idea of this one, because I have had a good discussion about all these things from the very morning, right? So then then you can go through the curriculum design guidelines. So the curriculum design guidelines actually contains the models of integration, how you are going to integrate the AI in your education. So it can be an introductory course in the very first year or the first semester students, like we have nowadays we have introduction to computers or these sort of things. So you can introduce a chapter there, or you can also introduce a full course there. You can also embed modules of generative AI in different courses, which actually fits this thing, or you can use in this capstone or project component. So these are different sort of things which I have identified. So now it's time to identify by yourself. So we are here and we are working together in a collaborative platform so that we can get your idea regarding the policies, what should be there or what should not be. So these things are just a guideline or a drafting to help you out, like what we are going through. So in the curriculum design, also think about the pedagogical approach. So later we also use this for the assessment alignment. So we have heard uh, from every speaker that so AI is generating wrong citation, right? So how we can actually check that one, or what should be the measure? So here I have developed a citation checker. So in my university, I take research methodology course, and I used to give students different sort of assignments, and they do submit their assignments. And most of the time, it seems that these things are generated by the AI. So from that need, I have developed one tool to check whether the reference they are citing, it is valid or not. So manually checking this 40 students reference is very hard. So this is why I have developed the tool. I just upload the references and it actually gives me the output whether it is valid or it has some chance of AI generation. So if I want to show you, there is a so this is the reference checker. Oh, for example, I just need to upload the references. So here are some sample references. So,
Taif,
sir,
can I just say one thing? Because well, right now what you are sharing your desktop on Zoom, while the things are shown on the projected desktop or the extended desktop. So the online on Zoom, what we are seeing the basic desktop. So if you can,
okay, sir, let me duplicate my display. So if I think, so,
right now if you go to the page, probably
so duplication is unethical, right?
provided that well you do not share anything personal, yeah. Okay, good. Now it is visible. Thank
So
you.
now you can see this is the interface, a very simple interface. I just need to upload the reference file. Just I have one sample reference file, then I click the analyze reference, and you can see it is analyzing all the reference one by one, and finally it will provide a report like how many of these are valid and how many are maybe AI generated. So it will take some time because I'm using the free service of the Crossref. So give it a moment, and in the meantime, you can work on your policy making guidelines. So this is the tool I have generated, or I have created using the generative AI itself to check the references. And here I can say the help of the generative AI. So usually if I want to do it by my hand, it will take some times. But after going through the generative AI era, I just need to uh, put some command, put some prompt, like I want this sort of things which can be done using this way. This is my requirement. So just make me this one. So you can see the interface very well crafted, and I don't even tell him about the color theme, nothing. I just tell him, give me a beautiful website. But if I want to do it by myself, I had to write the CSS by myself. I have to think which element should be placed where. So in this case, I think this use of generative AI is okay, right? This is not unethical, right?
you see this is the discussion point. I mean what is the tasks that we can give generative AI to do? You know, well, those creative tasks and those things are probably something where data is important. Okay, for example, drafting an email, drafting the website is something which is not bad. I mean, this is something which is the good applications, but trying to do something which is creative, that is where actually all these different discussions come into play, that well, whether that is something which is going to be relevant within the context of education or not. The thing is, where learning is involved, then we need to be sure about the authenticity of the data. But when doing a task is involved where no learning is needed, I don't think that, well, we need to be concerned. For example, whether you want to create a website, or whether you want to, let's say, draft an email, it is a good tool.
So from this point of Mufti sir, I want to tell this, like, I know like how HTML works, how CSS works. And currently, I am not learning this HTML CSS working procedure. I know I need a tool. I have not enough time. So I use this generative AI thing. But when we are going to teach this to our students, like they are the first time learner, like learning the CSS for the first time, that should be unethical, right? So if we can come to this point, right? When we are learning something, we should not use generative AI for evaluation purpose. So the student can use generative AI for learning CSS. So it is not a big deal. So it is inspirable. Like you can use your own tutor. In this time, generative AI has such a form that it can actually work as a personal tutor. So based on my queries, based on my given input, it can actually customize a learning plan for me. So in that case, that is okay. But I think when we actually give a student like make a website using these things, if he use this generative AI using that prompt, that should not be ethical, right? So we can agree to this point, right?
Yeah, so I would like to add something. Thank you, Saifullah sir, for carrying on this excellent presentation. I would go to the morning session when Masood sir from North South University was talking about the long division problem. So actually, it's not a problem. Long division is a concept that we need to learn. But now, if we know this, the process, now how calculator is helping us, it's just speeding up the process. So, given that if we have the time, we can solve the long division by our hand. Now, as a tool, we can use the calculator just to minimize the time. Now, our perspective should be for the generative AI again as a tool, like manually I can do that, but if I want to do it manually, it's gonna be time consuming, or maybe in terms of as it is related with presentation, and so it might be little bit less colorful than it can generate. However, I should have the minimum knowledge to solve that or complete that task. So the main discussion of this point, this is a tool that we can think about and we should adopt as a supporting platform, not the solution provider. Whenever we are going to think it as a solution provider for anything, then we're gonna lose our grip, and then where we are actually losing our control, and then definitely it's where the ethical and legality and many other concern gonna pick up as well. Yeah, I can see your result is here, sir. So carry on, please.
So from this result, you can see like some have been verified, some is not found in the database, and there is a message that it can be potentially AI generated. So this is the thing I'm checking, I'm concerned about, like potentially AI generated. Why? So we can go through this DOI and you can see. So this DOI is aspect-based sentiment analysis on review data. And I think the information here is not mismatch. So you can see the title is a systematic review of aspect-based sentiment analysis. So the DOI is giving another paper, but here this DOI is bind to another title. So I think this is a potentially AI generated, and actually this is a generated thing. So this is how actually I am taking the advantage of this tool while verifying the references being generated by the AI. And this is very,
One
sorry,
question, the ones which says not found, what are the status of those?
actually, sir, this is also can be found, but I am using the API too much today. So that's why it is not getting the data from the crossref.
Right. Okay.
So if we
So
use the version,
in principle, all of the references that are being provided should have a status and should not be not found, right?
yes, sir. So it is
Okay.
still in the very infancy. I just using it very occasionally, sir. So, but it can be more polished using some internal knowledge. I'm working on this one to put some local AI support for this model, for this verification target, because I wanted to add the PDF support. So for the PDF, we need to some extraction process and other things. So maybe I'm going to implement it in the fullest, but what we're up to is on the curriculum design guideline, right? So in curriculum guideline, we are working on the assessment alignment. So the assessment should be aligned using the generative AI, should be clearly communicated, like which can be done, which cannot be done. So and after designing the policy or implementing or running the policy on the different institute, it is very important to monitor or evaluate. And this is where the quality assurance framework actually comes, like whether it has been duly overrun or duly overseen, or what we are talking about is properly implemented or not. So in the quality assurance framework, we have different level of governance policies. Like first one is the institutional governance and policies. Like there should be a clear GenAI policy statement, and there should be AI ethics committee. In most of our universities, we have IRB, institutional review board. So that board actually can work for this, can also work on this thing. Like they can, the AI ethics committee or the working group can be evolved or merge into those IRB. Or if the institute do not have these sort of things, they can form one. Just a working group will do. And for example, for I can say in AIUB, we have a clear generative AI policy statement, which is usually provided while the students take their midterm or final term exams. The students need to go through or need to read the statements, and they have to sign like they are agreeing with these sort of policies. So in AIB, we have started using this policy. So then comes to the program and course level QA. So after integrating to the institution, we need to actually integrate into our program and course level QA. So the course's CLO or the PLO can be aligned to the generative AI uses. So this is high time actually. The uses of generative AI comes like a burst. Like last 2 years ago, we are working on the LSTM, how the transformers are working. But within some months, there is ChatGPT, large language models, and the uses of LSTM and this transformer. No one is talking about these things, right? Everyone is going after these large language models, and it is integrated in our personal life. So whatever can say, like people have stopped using Google. Recently, I have read a research paper. They have a survey, and they found out that people are not using the Google search, because when you search in Google, they provide you a summary, like what is the answer for this query. And most of the people are reading that summary, and they are not browsing the other pages, other links. So Google is facing some serious problem with this phenomenon. The advertiser and the SEO company are getting frustrated because their things are not working, because Google itself is generating the summary and giving it to the user, and the user is just reading that summary, not going through any other links, not going through even the second page. So this is the time we are standing, like how AI or generative AI is integrated to our life. So after pushing into this, the institutional bodies, we need to actually also integrate this generative AI to our course level or program level integration. After that, we need to for the teacher and staff capacity building. So this is one of the tasks of the uh, quality assurance cell of any university. So once the generative AI policy is there, the teacher and staff's capacity should be built up regarding the uses and the other things of this generative AI. And finally, the student support, safeguarding and equity, because you already know by this time, like what we are uploading to ChatGPT or other AI tools, it is being used for the next level training purpose. So if you share some sensitive content, your personal data, it will not be personal anymore. It will be public property and it will be used for the training, and your data will be somehow showing up by any others prompt. So this is the thing the institute and the quality assurance cell should be aware of. Like it should not permit the students or staffs to upload the sensitive data and financial data and other things. So this is also very important thing while updating or uploading anything into the generative AI platforms. Finally, all the things should be monitored and it should be under continuous improvement loop. So this is the end of my presentation, but not end for you because we have some other 15 minutes left to write or make the policy. So let's go to the policy file, see how much policy have been integrated to the file, right? No policy. স্যার
আপনাদেরকে একটা রিকোয়েস্ট করব, আমরা লাস্টের দিকে মানে সেশনটা শেষ হওয়ার পরে আমরা সবাই মিলে একটা গ্রুপ ছবি তুলতে চাই, ঠিক আছে? তো দয়া করে থাকবেন তখন। ধন্যবাদ।
So nobody is inputting anything. So everyone is keeping it for homework, right? Homework.
Well, if people do keep it for homework, we want to make sure that we do really want help in drafting these guidelines. We want to tune the guidelines to the Bangladeshi context, so we really do want that input. It'd be so valuable to us that, again, like GenAI tools are trained on Western, Northern European, and American inputs. We really want these guidelines to be produced by Bangladeshi partners themselves. So if we don't have time today, and I realize we are running out of time, and you have signed up to the platform, it'd be great if you could provide this feedback very soon after the meeting. It'd be greatly appreciated.
The file will be open for next 2 weeks, so you can use your time. So filling this up.
So have you shared this one in the group or not?
So I will email all the things to the group right after these sessions.
Okay. So we have a WhatsApp group, right? So have you included all of them in the group or not?
Not yet, sir.
So
So
on
if you
the
have any question, you can ask for the help, or if there is any sort of clarification needed, like how you are going to fill up this document, you can ask. We are here to help. So this is very important because people like you cannot we cannot get everything right every day, right? So this is very important for us. Nick, you want to say anything?
I was going to say on the Accessible Academy page, if I can share the screen.
So I have a question.
Please.
Is there any possibility to that generative AI have any chance to clone our brain, human brain? As I can reference one thing, one of my manuscript, one day I am trying to check the plagiarism. I get more than 90% AI generated, but hardly I make 30 or 40% using any kind of GenAI. But it assessing more than 90% generated by generative AI. So after that, I am frequently checking my text document by myself, but I get most of the time more than 50 or 60% generated by AI. After I found that my writing pattern get similar to like ChatGPT or Gemini, as because we are using frequently a different perspective in different reason generative AI. So my brain also get impact by this kind of sources. So I actually get scared of that thing. Is there any chances to, so my question is, final question is there any chances to generative AI can clone our brain?
So I think this answer can come from Professor Mufti sir and Professor Mustafizur Rahman sir. So they can actually tell whether our brain can be cloned. But from my perspective, I can assure you that the thing you are getting, it is the AI generation, actually it is not copying your brain. It is actually going through the similarities of the text you have writing, your writing style. It is maybe the AI thinks that it is generated by the AI, but the physical thing like the brain can be copied by the generative AI. So I give the floor to Professor Mufti Mohammad sir and Professor Mustafizur Rahman sir to answer this question.
Okay, this is a good concern. Okay, now what I'm about to say here is that right now what AI does is most of the deep models, which are based on neural networks, okay, majority of them. So when we think of neural network, what we are thinking is that an abstraction of a neuron, and this neuron is represented by a set of mathematical equations. Now, this is also something which is very interesting because, again, I'm going back to yet another conference that we organized in October. It's called Applied Intelligence and Informatics. And we actually had the pleasure to invite one of the world's very prominent neuroscientists to deliver a keynote. And the essence of that keynote is, if I'm to just briefly summarize it, that our brain, it is, let's say that the neurons, they are of different types, and their ability to, process information is very, very different than how it is currently modeled in the artificial neural networks. So what happens is that right now we have, for example, a same type of equations that are plugged into these neurons, and these neurons are then interconnected to create the artificial neural network, which you use in the deep learning or any deep neural network based artificial architectures. Now these are completely different, okay, though they are inspired by the brain, but they are completely different than actually how our actual neurons operate, okay? So there is no worry that our brain will be, cloned or duplicated. However, what the deep models are doing is, it is trying to extract the context of how we write, okay, or how we present information. So it is the context which it is trying to explore, by trying to understand the semantic relations between the words that are currently being used in our writing style. So it can mimic our writing style, but it cannot mimic our thinking capabilities or our cognitive abilities. Okay, we are far away from having something of that kind. This is my current understanding, by the way.
Thank you, sir,
Thank
for
you,
the
sir.
clear explanation. So, is there any question? So, I think there is no question, and I would like to hand over this session to Dr. Shamim Kaisar, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you, Saif. So we are at the end of the session, today's session. So I would like to request Professor David to give his final comment and reflection on today's workshop. David.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shamin. I just want to say thank you to the last person who asked the question, who directed the question at Mufti, not me. Thank you for that. So I thought Mufti answered that very well. I very appreciated for your input there, Mufti. I want to say really thank you to Ree, Shamin, Mustafiz, Saifullah, Professor Saiful Islam, for all the hard work. Apologies if I missed anybody there, to organising the session today. Great success. There were so many great presentations. And I don't want to, I'm glad we've recorded that. I really appreciate it to Arif for sharing his experience of being introduced to training on generative AI and its use in higher education in the UK and experiences, and also to the afternoon presentations as well, from Saiful and from Ree as well. Really useful. And I really want to encourage all the attendees. You're now part of this community. You're signed up to the Accessible Academy. So do please provide your input on the generation of new guidelines for staff and students, which are tuned to the Bangladeshi context, especially to support students who might come from more challenged backgrounds, facing more challenges in learning and retention and higher education. You know, as we said a few times in this session today, many of the AI tools are currently trained on Northern European, North American content and input. So let's address that, but let's not be the same for guidelines about how generative AI should be used in Bangladesh. These guidelines should be coming from you and not us. We're just talking about our experience in the UK, but we really want the guidelines to reflect your experience, your needs, the needs of your students. So please, please, please do work on using Nick's tool on Accessible Academy as well to write some guidelines that we can collate together. So after Christmas, after the Christmas period, which will in the first week of January, hopefully we'll come back and we're going to do some more training events. I really want Arif to do a more in-depth coverage of the training that he provided. You know, the training could last an hour, so I'd like to organize a dedicated online session for that, and you can all join and listen to more in-depth Arif's experience. I'd like Mufti to come along as well to talk about all current trends, as we was talking about all the new insights and thinking that's going around in terms of the conferences Mufti's attending, you know, in terms of large language models and current trends, and share some of that experience too. So it's great to have you here. Please do provide your input, your homework. I think the link has been open for another 2 weeks. But apart from that, been great to see you all, and we'll see you rapidly into the new year. Thank you. Thank you all.
And can I just add
thank you,
one, David, with your
yeah.
permission?
Yes, Mufti, please.
So, well, we are actually holding a 2 days workshop here in King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals on the 16th and 17th of December. And well, these workshops will, well, the sessions of the workshop will be broadcasted. So people who are interested can actually join online. Okay. So I will be sharing the website link. So let me just very quickly find the link, and then so here is the link. So I'm going to share it on the WhatsApp group. Okay. So Professor David Brown is going to be here with some other colleagues, Dr. Arif, and then Nick, everybody, well, at least three from this gathering will be here. Okay, we are going to again talk about accessibility, developing accessible materials. So if any of you are interested in joining those events, those sessions, okay, please do let me know, okay? And I'll be very happy to share the link as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We would like to take a group photo. You will be on the back and we will be on your front. Okay, is this okay?
Yeah, just one last point, David, with the permission. Nick, is there anything that you want to address? Because I felt like at some point I mean, someone was talking, so you had to stop. Is there anything that you want to add?
He already mentioned, I think.
It's well, I'd done a similar kind of feedback area on the Accessible Academy page. If I just share that briefly.
Yeah, that would be brilliant because I missed it, or
if I share this, I don't know if you can see that now. So this is the whole set of sessions from today here, and in the afternoon session, we've got an emergent GenAI guidelines section, and in here we have 6 areas where you can put feedback as well. So under each of these, there's the core principles, accessibility and disability inclusion, responsible use. So these 5 and another 4 just other feedback is in here. So you can go in here, answer to that question, and write your comments on this particular theme. So that's another way of getting some feedback if you want to put some feedback in this way instead. So I'm just putting there. Submit answers and says thank you, and then sends you back to the top page. If you go back in and try and answer it again, I'm in the wrong place now. Your answer will still be there, so you can go in and modify and update your answer if you want. So that's all I wanted to add. But since this was also being covered by Cycle, I wasn't too worried. But it's there for you if you want to use that method of feedback as well.
Yeah, so please feedback on both. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, David. Sorry for stealing your time.
No, it's really important, Arif, that we get feedback, as much feedback as possible.
Yeah, because I know Nick has put some effort to create this online feedback form, which is really very handy. And I will kindly request all the participants, because I know they're very busy with their time, but every bit of their input will be really helpful. So they can do it online, I believe, as well. So on the way to return home or while they're commuting, they can go and think about that and put some feedback using the mobile phone even. So I believe that will be really, really supportive material for us. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes, you can log in via mobile and get the accessible academy site on your mobile. You just need the Moodle app downloaded, and so you can then see all this same content and do the same interactions on your mobile.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, David, Arif, Nick, Andy, as well as Mufti for joining us. I mean, from the early morning, right? And also, I would like to thank all the participants for, coming to the venue, before the event. And so we are end of the today's workshop. So we will take a group photo together, and then we will. So we have another event, right? Okay. So after the photo session, we will have a coffee, and then the event will be closed. Thank you so much. So please come forward, and we will take a group photo. And I would like to request all of you to switch on the camera. Saif.
Shamim sir, have you noticed by any chance Sajjad Wahid sir there?
Yeah, Fahd is here, and you will see his face.
He's hiding himself in a corner. How come? Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you, sir?
Thank you. Yeah, Saif, ইয়া করে দিলে ভালো হয়। না, ইয়ার ভিউ মানে সবার ভিউটা যদি গ্যালারি ভিউ। নে আমার ক্যামেরা এস বুঝলি আমার চেহারা লাইট লাইট অফ লাইট জ্বালাতে হবে লাইট জ্বালাতে হবে এই লাইটে হবে না
No one is saying smile.
Keep smiling.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Enjoy the coffee.
Yes.
Yeah, virtual coffee now.
Nick, we can check in shortly as well, and Arif,
Yes.
and if you want to have it.
Unfortunately,
Thank you, David.
just a reminder.
Thank you, Arif.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Shamin.
everyone. Bye-bye.
In the
See you shortly.
coming March, right?
Bye-bye. Yeah. See you soon. We've got to organise it all, haven't we? We're speaking with Mufti and Arif for when we come over in springtime. But we'll
Thank
have
you.
a meeting. We'll have a meeting about when it's best for all parties concerned.
Thank you. Bye.
Brilliant. Looking forward to it. Mufti, do you want? This isn't the best place to meet, is it really? But at some point.